Black power, black power, black power, black indigenous power. Black power ain't dead. You Negroes are scared. Chief Black Power Holiday in the building. We got Truthfully Honest in the building. How you doing, Queen?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great. Hey, we got two special guests in the building tonight. Got my man Noonoone and A-Noot of how you brothers doing today? We're real good.
Yeah, True P. What's going on, Chief? What's going on, Honest? Yeah, we doing good. We just trying to get this information out, this creativity, and I'm just here to support my kin, the Noonoone who got that beautiful creation in the back that's gonna change the whole way of things is done. And so I'm just glad we got this opportunity to be here.
All right, so yeah, like I was saying, it's the science of sound right reason, and basically it's intelligent science that helped me to create this beautiful creation that you see behind me. Maybe you guys could put up a better picture because the light on it is kind of glary, so you're not gonna be able to see it clearly. And I'm just here to present this calendar to the community to help people to understand how powerful and important a calendar is as far as a mental and spiritual and physical thing for our race is concerned. So we definitely need a different way of telling time, and we need a different way of celebrating holidays and things of that nature, because we are bound by the Caucasian's calendar and his holidays. So this is what I came to present us, a new way of thinking, a new way of understanding, you know, where we are in nature, and helping us getting us to that better location that we need to get to as a people.
It's still kind of low though. Dang.
Can y'all hear him in the chat? Can anyone let me know?
Oh, maybe I need to put my headphones on. Hold on. I'll put my headphones on. And you guys will just have to present it. You guys hear me better now?
Yep. Way better.
Alright. I just have to put the headphones on. Alright. So, yeah. Whatever questions you guys, have, or if you want me to do a small introduction to the calendar, we could always get that started.
I mean, there's something like myself, never heard of Noonoone before, right? So if you guys could give us a quick overview of Noonoone before we get into the calendar.
I'll let Noonoone give you an overview before I give a breakdown of the calendar itself. Noonoone?
Yeah, repeat that again.
Well, I just kind of for the person who never heard of Noonoone science before, if you could give us a quick breakdown of what it is before we get into the calendar.
Hold on, now it's hard to hear what you were asking.
Did he say neuroscience? What did you say?
Neuroscience. I can't hear the kind of breakdown neuroscience.
This is an ancient skill.
He said break down Noonoone science before you get into the calendar. You wanted to break that down a little bit before? After? Yeah.
Would you catch that thing?
No, it's still kind of choppy.
What?
My mic is too.
Asking for you to give a breakdown of what Noonoone science is, and just to introduce to the people what noon is that people that don't understand what noon is and and basically the direction we're coming from.
You can go ahead. You the man of the hour right now. I'm here to support you. Go ahead, do your thing.
I'm gonna have to do a lot of talking tonight, huh? Anywho's, well, I'm gonna start by saying, like I said before, noon is a science of sound right reason, meaning that it's a science of pure intelligence, which means that whatever you read in noon science, you're going to basically have to, it's either been researched already, or it's already been, it's something that you have to research yourself. Now, in religion, you're taught to believe, and you're taught as the power in religion is belief and faith. So there's no factual evidence in faith. So with noon we deal with reality and reason, and reality and reason basically just means that intelligence, and we're using information, evidence, and reason to reach a certain conclusion or a solution to a problem that we may face. So this is what noon is, and noon is an ethereal question and answer science, meaning that whatever the intelligent question is, you will have an intelligent answer to that question. And the way you arrive to the answer to that question is by doing research or thinking or reasoning, meaning that you may not reach the answer to that question that day, but as pondering upon it, or basically researching and doing heavy thinking, you'll reach the answer to that solution. So this is what noon science is about: searching and reaching conclusions. As the calendar that you see behind me is basically heavy research and reasoning behind the creation of this calendar. So anytime that's a true Noonie Boo, meaning that somebody who's true to the science, know that whatever they've created, it had to take heavy reasoning and a heavy thought process behind whatever it is that they're doing. So that's just a brief synopsis of noon. So if you ever want to read more about noon, you can go to the website noponoone.com, NOPONOONE, or personally at noponoone@gmail.com, and that's NOPONOONE@gmail.com. So that's just a brief breakdown of noon, and noon is not religion, it's a science. And we know that the word science comes from the word scientia in Latin, which means knowledge. So the knowledge of noon is all about researching, reading, and reaching the correct answer to any type of problem or any type of equation that we may be facing as a race or as humanity as a whole. And it's also a science of origins. So a lot of the things that we research, we have to go back to the origin or the etymology of that particular thing in order for us to understand the nature of that thing. So anytime you want to know the nature of a thing, you have to go to the etymology of that thing, knowing where it came from and how did it start is a big start to understanding what an organism is going to grow and mature into. So that's what noon is about, and it's about knowing the origins and the declinations of things. It's understanding the nature as a whole, because we understood that nature is that one supreme being, which is all space, all matter, and all three of these things are the trinity of nature. Like Christianity have their trinity, which is the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. But in nature, the trinity is all space, which is the endless vacuum that we see outside of the planet, all matter, which is every and everything that occupies space, the seen and unseen. Then you have all time, which is the logger, keeper of space and matter. meaning that we're able to know how we exist based upon time and the continuation of time. A lot of people say time don't exist. That means that we don't exist, because time lets us know that we exist. All right, so that's just a brief breakdown of what Noon is. You guys got any other questions?
No. If you can, let's get into the Nodiac, and then we can go from there. So I got a few questions, but I want to wait till you get into the system too.
All right, not a problem. All right, so the calendar that you see behind me is called the correct name for it is called Noonoone School. And basically, it's a Nodiac. And Noonoone School basically means gods of the cosmos. The reason why it's called gods of the cosmos is because we understand that the sons of nature created the basically the constellations that we see in our skies. And also the sons are the creators of the planets, the creators of what you would see as far as animals, as far as trees, plants, and all of these things are concerned, because every element that is on the sun is also existing on the planets as well. So Noonoone School basically means gods of the cosmos. Now don't get spooked out by the word God. The word God in Noon science basically is just the highest form of something to exist. So the sun is the highest form of that thing to exist, meaning that it's the creator of everything that we see. So when I was doing research on this calendar that we see behind me, basically the constellations represent the organs of the universe. So we know that the universe can't exist unless it's basically it's moving like a human body. Like our bodies won't exist if it wasn't for organs, and these constellations won't exist if it weren't for the universe wouldn't exist if it weren't for the constellations. So the constellations basically reflect just like the organs in the body. Now when it comes to the zodiac, we got to go back to the etymology of the word zodiac. The etymology of the word zodiac means world of animals. Now, we've been taught that we're a part of the animal kingdom, but the human beings that Africans are, we're not necessarily a part of that animal kingdom. Only through time and through evolution we've become part of the animal kingdom as well. But when we go back to the zodiac, we know that the zodiac, the Dendera, if you could just post that Dendera real quick for me. No, not the Dendera, I'm sorry, the Noonoone School, the Nodiac. Post that Nodiac. In the middle of the Nodiac, you'll see the zodiac. Now the zodiac is a pseudoscientific calendar that was given to us. Reason being is because when that zodiac was created in ancient Africa, we have to understand at the time period that it was created, the Caucasian basically invaded Africa at that point in time. Even prior to that, other races of people invaded Africa and came in and took over. But the particular part of Africa that the Caucasian invaded was called the Dendera. That area was called the Dendera, and the temple that they took over was the Hathor temple. Now Alexander the Greek was actually the one that went into that particular area, and the Ptolemaic regime was the one that came in and basically remodeled that the Dendera that we see on that ceiling. Now, that's one main reason we know that the Caucasian was the one that remodel that dendera that we see on the ceiling. The second main reason is a particular type of technique called bas relief. Bas relief is basically how people sculpt things into rocks or into any kind of hard stone or anything like that. So bas relief basically is sculpting out rock, meaning that the image is protruding out of the rock. And a good example of bas relief is coins. If you look at coins, you'll see that coins have a bas relief on them, and it's basically protruding just a little bit. But if you look at bas relief from the side, you really can't tell what the bas relief really is. You'll have to paint it, and when they paint it, then you'll recognize exactly what it is. Now, our ancestors used a technique called sunken relief. Now, they also use bas relief as well, but mainly for their purposes of having us understand what was on the inscriptions on the wall, besides painting and using bas relief, they use a technique called sunken relief. And sunken relief meant that they dug into the rock. They basically carved the certain images into the rock, and you can see the images clearer. Even if you look at it from the side, you can still recognize what the images were. Now, when it comes to the dendera, the whole thing was done in bas relief, and bas relief took a shorter period of time, and it also was a very easier technique than it was to use sunken relief. So this is how we know that the Caucasian was the one that came into Africa and did this. Now, one of the symbols that they used, well, that was the second major thing. The third major thing is the symbols that they used. One of the main symbols that they used was the scales. In Africa, what we did to represent balance was Ma'at, which was Isis with the wings open. This is what represent balance and justice and things like that. But the Caucasian used the scales to represent justice. Another animal that they used, well, that wasn't an animal, but another animal that they used was the horse. We know that the horse is a prestigious thing to the Caucasian. This is how he came into Africa, with chariots and horses and things like that. You know, even a big event that they have here is with the Kentucky Derby. You know, a lot of their cowboys, and you know, with the cowboys and Indians, they use the horse as one of their main animals. So they use the horse, they use the scales, you know, they use different, we never necessarily use as our main constructs for any of our calendars and things of that nature. So this is how we know that the Caucasian was the one that coined the that we currently use today. So that zodiac is definitely a creation of the Caucasian. Not saying that the zodiac itself creation. This particular zodiac that we do use today is a Caucasian creation. Now, going back to the calendar, if you could just post that calendar again. If you look at the bottom of the calendar, you'll see that this calendar goes counterclockwise. And the reason why the calendar goes counterclockwise is because most of the natural movements of nature is counterclockwise. For instance, the earth rotates counterclockwise on its axis. The earth revolutionizes around the sun counterclockwise. 6 of the 8 planets move counterclockwise around the sun. The sun actually revolves or rotates around the galaxy counterclockwise, and the galaxy itself rotates counterclockwise. So counterclockwise is the natural movement of nature, because most of the movements in nature and the natural movements in nature is counterclockwise. Now, starting from the bottom, we see that Aries is lined up with bone marrow. Now, bone marrow going all the way around to the genitals is the basic way that a child gestates in the womb. It's bone marrow first, then after the bone marrow, it starts to get its skeletal system, then the flesh starts to form, the lungs, the heart, and so on and so forth until you get to the genitals. That's why, when people go to the doctor and they ask, what's the gender of the baby, and they tell them, well, they have to wait 4.5 months because the genitals is the last thing to be formed in the womb. So not only does the calendar reflect what's the constellations that we see in space, but it also reflects the way that the child is in the womb. Now, what's even more significant about these different constellations is that the stars within these particular constellations, like Aries, for instance, the main star is called Hamal. Now, Hamal is dealing with calcium issues. Now, why would a star be dealing with calcium issues if it didn't reflect the bone marrow? And we know that bone marrow, the main component that helps bone marrow to produce itself and keep going is calcium. Also, if we look up the etymology of the name Hamal, we'll see that Hamal means the ram's head. Now, what's so important about the ram's head is the ram's horns. Now, what causes the ram's horns to grow the way that it does and to be so strong? Because the strongest horns on the planet is the ram's horns. Now, what causes the horns to be so strong is that the ram has a strong case of calcium and bone marrow. That bone marrow is what grows the horns. It makes the horns so strong. So we know that even though the Caucasian and the Arabic community, because all of these stars are basically Arabic in name, and the Caucasian is the one that brought forth the zodiac. So the Arabic name Hamal leads back to the horns of the ram, which leads back to the bone marrow, which creates the horns, which is very ironic, but they still leave the clues there, because in order for you to create pseudoscience, you have to have some sort of facts to code it in. So basically, they're hiding these things in the etymology of most of these stars that you see behind me. You understand what I'm saying? So even if we look at, like for instance, I'm gonna have to go off for a second and just get into a little bit of this research real quick to give you guys just a breakdown of what's going on. All right, so we can go into, all right, so I'm gonna pick another constellation. So we're gonna pick the Gemini constellation with Pollux and Castor. Now, the etymology of Pollux means sweet. Why would they name a star sweet? The reason why they would name the star sweet is because we understand that glycogen, which is a sugar forming part of the of cells, basically help to keep muscles stronger and keep them going. Now, we understand also that Pollux and Castor are twins, and if you look up the etymology of twins, it means to bind together. The word twin doesn't mean separate things that look the same. It actually means to bind together, or basically born together. So that's what twins mean. Twins mean bind together or born together. So we understand that Castor and Pollux telling us that the glycogen is what binds and forms the flesh. So it all goes back to the stars again. So we have to understand that the stars of our constellations represent who are also inside of the bodies. Hold on for a second. You guys got a question real quick while I get into this?
Quick question for me. So far, which is very interesting. Since we have pyramids that
You sound a little low, Chief.
okay, since we have pyramids that are in America that are also aligned with the constellation of the stars, we talked about gas, release, things like that. Will that apply in America also? And another part of that question is, if the pyramids are aligned with the constellation of the stars, in Africa, how do we always go back to Africa when we're talking about some of these things we talk about?
All right. Now, when it comes to lining up pyramids with the constellations, we got the three main pyramids that we do know about that's lined up with constellations is the Giza pyramids, and basically those are aligned with Orion's belt. Now, we have to understand that they were basically worshiping, or they were giving honor to the stars that represented the spinal cord. As I was doing research on those particular stars and those constellations, I realized that they represented the Ursa Minor constellation. Now, the three of these stars, and one of them being Polaris, under the Ursa Minor constellation. Now, the Ursa Minor constellation is also in reflection to the cervical articular pillar, which is the back of the neck. Now, the C1 vertebrae, which is the part of the cervical articular pillar, is called the atlas. ATLAS, the atlas. Now, ironically, Polaris is called the atlas because this is how the ancients navigated in the sea. They used Polaris to navigate throughout the sea. So Polaris was known as the atlas. Now, why would they call the C1 vertebrae the atlas, which is the top part of the spine? The reason being is because that C1 vertebrae allows your head to move left, right, or basically east-west, up, down, north-south. So your head is able to move east-west, north-south because of this C1 vertebrae that they call the atlas. Go into the anatomy of the spine and you'll see that that top part of the spine is called the atlas. And they know this. So Polaris is also called the atlas, which is the top part of the spine, which is part of the Ursa Minor constellation. Now, here's another funny thing about why they named it, or basically they call Ursa Minor the little bear. They call Ursa Minor the little bear, and they call Ursa Major the little bear. I mean the big bear. Reason being is because the English language is a very tricky language. Spinal cord is basically it holds the body upright, and it does what? It bears the weight of the body. So they switched out the word bear, which is B-E-B-A-R-E, and gave you the word bear, B-E-A-R, in retrospect to an animal or a bear. So basically the spine bears the weight of the body, and Ursa Minor bears the weight of the head. The lower part of the spine, which is Ursa Major, bears the weight of the entire body and the lower body. This is why when you lift any heavy object, the first part of the back that starts to hurt is the lumbar part of the spine, which is the Ursa Major constellation. So basically, they were letting us know that the stars being aligned with these constellations represented the body parts in the universe.
This is an ancient skill.
You understand what I'm saying? Also, when the pyramid was built, they did a ceremony called the pulling of the cord. Now, not the pulling of the cord, the stretching of the cord, which was what? The foundation of the pyramids. Now, what is the foundation of the human body? It's the spinal cord, because the spinal cord delivers information from the brain to different parts of the body. Now, when the spinal cord is no longer functioning, then you're paralyzed, meaning that you can't use any functions of the body unless you have the spinal cord. So the spinal cord is the foundation of the body. And this is why the ancient Egyptians, or anywhere on the planet that you find pyramids, they're going to use a ceremony called the stretching of the cord. Now, why would they call it the stretching of the cord? The cord. You understand what I'm saying? So everything that they did, and even the jet pillar is a reflection of that spinal cord, which stood for uprightness, and basically letting us know that they were giving reference to the stars in the sky, because the stars represented what was already in the body. This is why they didn't say the words as above, so below for any reason. As above, so below meant that what was in the universes were also inside of the bodies. And if we understood what was in the universes, then we would understand what afflicts us on this planet. Because we are in a sickly time right now. And because the temperatures of most of the suns are lowering themselves, meaning that they're at a low temperature right now, and their swelling is a part of death. That's why if anybody dies, or if you ever witness anybody dying, you'll see that the body starts to swell. And this is what's taking place with the planets. And also, sorry, not the planets, what's taking place with the suns. And that's why most of the suns that we see that are swelling is also lowering themselves in temperature. So temperature is a major key component in understanding how nature works as well. And this is why one of the main reasons why the Caucasian being able to walk around so freely right now, because of the temperature of the sun. The sun has lowered its temperature significantly. And this is what the Caucasian to be able to walk on the planet. This is why they said that they were born in caves. They weren't able to walk out in the sun like this 6,000 years ago, because even 6,000 years ago, it was hotter. They had to grow hair on their bodies to protect themselves from the sun. But if you shave themselves 6,000 years ago in the sun, you'll see that they'll get skin cancers and even things like that. So now the sun is beginning to heat back up. But
okay,
I went away from that question, but I hope that answered your question, Chief. Did that answer your question, Chief?
I still, for me,
the mic messed up really bad. Gotcha. Yeah.
Cold motherfucker. We have nationally released air America. Part of, the freedom out the story and all that nature. But my question is about the pyramids of America.
You said, are they related to the pyramids in Africa?
No, I'm absolutely, no, I'm truly related. I'm saying, the ones in America are older than the ones in Africa.
Are they older than the ones in Africa?
Yes.
I don't know. I'm not gonna sit here and say I do know that the pyramids in America are older than the ones in Africa.
Okay, well, your mic is messed up, Chief.
Hello, sorry. Is it mess up? Mic check, mic check.
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Now, the reason why I say that is because there's, built a lot of monuments, throughout time, and most of these pyramids don't predate the human beings that were here. Meaning that the human being has been here for millions of years, and these pyramids haven't been here for millions of years. Meaning that we had a long period of time to migrate basically out of Africa on different parts of the globe. Now, if you ask me a question of where did humanity originate from, or basically, not humanity, where did black people originate from, the ones with kinky hair, I have to tell you that they originated from out of Africa. Now, as far as how old the pyramids are, I can't tell you, because the reason being is because I don't know when they started the construction for the ones in Africa, and I don't know when they started the constructions for the ones.
Okay, I wanted to say something. You were saying that back then that's why they was in caves, because the sun was too hot for them. But we could take it because our skin is melanated, right? Our skin can withhold heat. So I heard the sun is heating up again. Is that why they digging all kind of holes under the ground?
Well, they doing that as well for protection. Meaning, not even from the sun as well. They're understanding that the earth is going to go through a process of cleansing, right? And through that process of cleansing means that there's going to be destruction. You got all scientific books, all religious books lead back to letting us know that there's going to be a cataclysm or a catastrophic event that's going to occur where many people are going to die. So they're digging holes in the ground. They're trying to go to Mars and build hotels there as if that's going to protect them from these catastrophic events. But they're bounded to this planet just like we're bounded to this planet. And we're not going to go far in space without it, damaging us as a people. So they're not going to go far, and it's not going to stop them from being destroyed along with what's going to occur. But that's why they're doing it. And the sun is heating up as well. This is a scientific fact that the sun is heating back up again.
Are we okay? So so this is the kind of questions that I wanted to ask you. You were talking about the months, right? And so basically, if they're messing with the months so that our bodies can be offset, right? Like chemically, health-wise, everything. They're trying to knock us off balance with the universe. So I was going to ask you, okay, so you said our times and months are based on sixes, like 60 seconds, 60 minutes, 12 hours in a day. Can you explain what you meant when you were saying that?
Daily basis. So the time that they use on a daily basis is called sexagesimal, right? And sexagesimal is basically counting by sixes, or if you break down the numbers, they break down to 6. So for instance, you have 24 hours in a day. 2 plus 4 is 6. You have 60 minutes in an hour. 6 plus 0 is 6. And you have 60 seconds in a day, which is also 6. So their time is basically quote unquote the same mark of the beast that they speak of, which is 666. Now 6 is also the same number, sorry, not the same number, it's the same word as sex. If you go into the Latin language, you'll see that 6 and sex is the same word. So they're letting us know that everything that they do has to be based upon sex. You understand what I'm saying? So how do we know this? If they sell a car on TV, they got to put a woman on there with a bikini on, and it doesn't have anything to do with the performance of the car, but more or less putting that woman to represent a sexual image. Everything that we see is done by sex. Cartoons, they put sexual images to symbolically reflect in whatever they do. So our time even reflects sex. Even with the word sexagesimal, the prefix in the word is sex. So everything that we do, sex. So now we have to go back to something that reflects the mind. You understand what I'm saying? So 9 represents the mind. And it's not just because they rhyme with each other, but because we understand that 9 is the power of the universe, meaning that everything starts from 9 and it trickles down into different numbers. Every other number cannot add up to 9. I mean, every other number has to go up to 9, but 9 can break down to any number that we see. So 9 is actually the first number. So we go from 9 and we go backwards, or we go forward into 1. So 9 is basically the power number. So our time has to be based upon 9 itself. So do things by 6 because they understand that 6 represents sex, and that's the only way that they can rule the world is by sex and abuse of sex.
Yeah, even I was talking to some flat earthers, and they were showing how they even put, like, because you know how the clouds and stuff fake and all that that's fake. So, but they had like the word sex in the clouds, like hidden. They always try to put that somewhere. You know, them Romans, they nasty. So
very nasty. Look at the images that they put up. They got those sculptures and statues which are done in high relief, and that's what Chief was talking about with the bas relief. But most of their sculptures are done in high relief, which looks totally 3-dimensional. But when you look at their images, they're butt naked, and they always got some little boy holding on to the leg. They got some little boy hugging on to them. It's always some kind of pedophilia going on. Mm-hmm. So everything that they do is based upon sex. Look at what's going on. The majority of laws and things that they pass is for homosexuality. You know what I'm saying? Which is what? Based upon sex again. Look at the primary source of marriage, which is monogamy. It's also based upon sex. The reason being is because if you eliminate being able to be married to more than one man or woman, now that creates confusion and it allows people to cheat on other people instead of coming to somebody in an intelligent situation and saying, hey, the numbers as far as females to males is 8-1, and due to the incarceration rate is 13-1. So now what are the extra women to do? Go to homosexuality or go into polygyny? So this is why our ancestors did polygyny in Africa, because they understood there was more women born than there were men. So now we have to take on a particular type of marriage known as polygyny. So we have to use up the matter around us. Women represent matter. So this is why our sun is a representative of a male. So the matter that he had around him was able to create 8 planets. So those 8 planets was the matter that he had to use and basically allow it for the solar system to move naturally the way it's supposed to move. If one planet is displaced or somehow destroyed, this solar system will go out of whack. So we have to have balance within our race. And what we're witnessing within our race with all the cheating, with all the diseases, with all the homosexuality is an unbalancement. So we have to balance ourselves again. And the Caucasian does this by confusing us with sex. And when he confuses us with sex and we're not able to use the mind proficiently, this is what we're witnessing and noticing within our race.
Yes, that would explain why they continuously make us into sexual beings over and over, our men and the women.
Right. And force sex upon us with rape, with the raping of the in slavery, that was forced upon us. And some of our men had to witness that, had to witness our women getting raped by the so-called slave master. Also, men were getting raped by the so-called slave master as well, and the women had to witness that.
This is an ancient
You know what I'm saying? And we have to witness our women being pregnant for the slave master. You understand what I'm saying? So these were, they had to break down the mind because they already knew we were intelligent people. So the first thing you have to do is break down the mind, and then what? Attack us through the body. And our mind and our bodies are connected. So if we are wayward sexually, that means that we're going to be wayward mentally as well. So that's how they did it.
Okay, what do you mean when you say that what's in the stars is also in the body? What does that mean?
It means that the constellations are also what's inside the body. Alright, let me give you an example. There's about 88 constellations in our particular universe, the part of the universe that we live in. It's about 88 constellations. Now, there's ironically 88 systems or organ systems within the body as well. So, as above meant that what the universe is functioning exactly how the human body is functioning, meaning that the sun created us the exact same way that the stars function on the outside. So I'm gonna give you an example. The example is the human body is the perfect form we would be reflected as in the universe, and the suns reflected the same thing on this planet. Remember, the suns need a blueprint in order to create something on the planet, and we are the most intelligent people on the planet, being African people with kinky hair. The sun also has kinky hair, meaning that there's a particular thing on the sun called flocculi. Flocculi mean in the dictionary, it means tuft of wool. And who are the people on the planet with woolly hair? Basically the melanated people, the African people with kinky hair. So the sun is a reflection, or we are a reflection rather, or basically the product of suns. So that's why people say we're sun people, and things like that. Even the way our hair coils, they coil into what we would call solenoids, and solenoids allows electromagnetic energy to be absorbed. That's why if you go into anybody that studies electrician work and electricity, and basically they use coils to produce more energy and more electricity. So our hair produces more energy and more electricity. Our skin cells, which are the melanocytes, burn the hair that comes out of the skin on our head, and it coils the skin because we produce more electricity and more heat. The neuromelanin or the eumelanin is hotter than the pheomelanin. Pheomelanin creates red hair, brown hair, but eumelanin and neuromelanin creates the kinky, hot, brown or black hair that most Africans have on their heads. So what we're seeing in the universe is the same thing that we're seeing inside of our bodies. So this is why when you look at the calendar, you see different organs going around, and each star reflects, the main star for each one of those constellations reflect what's going on in the body. For instance, the liver constellation has a main star called Zebin Shamali, and Zebin Shamali, know if that star is white or is green. So how do we know it's white and not green? Well, when they look at it, they see that the star is actually producing green oxygen or green material around itself, and basically inside of the body, our liver creates a green substance called bile, which is high concentrated oxygen that removes toxins from the body, and it helps to cleanse and purify. So that star named Zebin Shamali is also creating green oxygen and helping to remove toxins from the from the nearby stars and helping to clean and purify our particular part of the galaxy. So, as above, so below was just not something to be said in Africa, but more or less letting us know that what was in the stars were also inside of our bodies. Answer the question.
You know, a lot of that stuff, everything you do, right?
I'm sorry? I hate
a lot of things you said. I think it's
your mic. I don't. Maybe you hear him. Truthfully, you hear him a little better than accent.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm saying that you guys are saying you're moon science, right?
Correct.
Science, we're talking about science. So that means it's not about belief systems and things like that. We have to work off of science. So some of the things you're saying, I think falls along the lines of the theory as opposed to with a scientific fact.
Like
so by just
like what? No, I'm at, like specifically. What is it that you think is a theory?
I mean, let's say the sun has kinky blood, or the origin. I mean, how long man has been on the planet, conscious and civilized. You know what I'm saying? Just I mean, a lot of that stuff was a person had never heard that before. I know they were like, damn, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? I've heard it before. No one felt it. So, yeah, I mean, can I see some science to back up some of the facts?
All right. Well, what is hair? Now let's go to what hair is, right? And the first thing we have to understand that hair is the antenna. The reason being, and I'm gonna explain why it's an antenna. Now, what causes hair to grow, and what is at the end of hair? The end of the hair at the follicle is the nerve, right? So even like if you pluck a piece of hair out of your skin, let's say you just pluck a piece of hair out of your skin, then your skin gonna start to bleed, or it's gonna swell up because it's connected to a nerve. You understand what I'm saying? So that nerve is connected to your nervous system, right? Which is also connected to the brain. And your brain is also an antenna as well. It receives information and it processes information. So because these nerves are connected to your brain and the hair is connected to your nerve, it's also an exterior antenna. You understand what I'm saying? Now, when you go on the sun and you analyze the sun, you will see that the sun has antennas as well. And those antennas are called flocculi. Now, when these antennas flare up, they're called prominences, right? And these prominences do what? They give off electromagnetic energy. This is why when they say there's a huge solar flare coming off of the sun and towards Earth, it can what? It can mess up the electromagnetic field of the planet. All right. So those flares are coming from under the surface and coming to the surface of the sun and coiling themselves. And the larger the coil, the more that you will see more electromagnetic energy coming from the sun. Now the ancients, not myself, people who named this part of the sun called it flocculi, which is wool or a tuft of wool. And these flocculi or electromagnetic energy that spin off of the sun.
When you say is that Greek? You see what I'm saying, brother? I don't. That's why I can't believe for essence because we have. We're speaking these languages and you're saying they say flockula, I disagree.
No, the reason why I'm using that word is because what other word are we gonna use, Chief?
That's my point. That's my point, though, bro. We use words that they created. And I'm saying they're talking about.
Yeah, but the thing is,
they talk, you know, did they make that up? You know what I'm saying?
The mic is messed up, Chief.
I'm saying
Mike is
a million years ago, or 2 million years ago, or 10 million years ago, or 20 million years ago.
whether what I'm saying to you is but that's what I'm saying. You ask for the scientific side behind the hair and the flocculi on the sun, but you're looking at the word and not looking at the scientific aspect about the electromagnetic energy and also the coil that the sun makes when it's giving off these prominences. Now you're going back to the word, but I'm telling you that the word goes back to an original meaning, and that original meaning means wool. Now, who is the only race on the planet that has this hair that kinks or coils like wool? That's the African race. So no matter the word that they use, if you look at the sun scientifically, physically, and just looking at it and studying the sun, you will see this same wool. Now, if they named it something else and that something else meant straight hair, that would mean that they incorrectly named part of the sun. You understand what I'm saying? Just like when I was breaking down the Ursa Minor with the little bear and the big bear, I had to correct it, right? Meaning that I had to let you know, okay, they tricked us into thinking it was an animal bear when really it meant bearing the weight of the body. So you see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that some things may be true. In order for something to be pseudo, it has to have some kind of truth to it, or for somebody to believe it. So there's aspects of religion that's still true. You understand what I'm saying? But they mix the falsehood within the religion, and that's what makes it a religion. So what I'm telling you is that I'm correcting what's taking place. The same thing with the Zodiac. I'm correcting what they've done. They've given us the pseudo-scientific version. I'm giving you the version in which it actually reflects in the universe. I'm giving you the scientific aspect. I'm giving you the etymological aspect. All the aspects that you need not believe what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. You're looking at the word flocculi, but you're not looking at the scientific aspect of how the sun is actually producing hair on its surface. You understand what I'm saying? And it's not the hair that we see on our bodies the same way we don't see those particular organs within the universe. It's not going to look exactly the way how you may want it to look. Like, okay, how come I don't see blood? How come I don't see blood in the universe?
So let me ask you a question. So would this be a metaphorical? Our ancestors typed in metaphors and did something, right?
Yeah, they did a lot of things symbolically.
Okay, so are you saying the universe and the constellations and all these things are metaphorically like this? You see what I'm saying? And this is to better understand ourselves. We just our ancestors were just less special. Saying, okay, this is how we.
Can you repeat the question for me?
I'm saying, do you think that this is more of a story?
You said, is it more of a metaphor?
Yeah, metaphor, as opposed to like saying something.
No, this is an actual fact. The same way blood, so ether. What we would call sunshine. Sunshine and heat and blood is the same thing as ether. You understand what I'm saying? It's the liquid plasma heat that we're seeing coming off of the sun. The sun has blood as well. It's not going to be all right. I'll give you an example. Is chlorophyll blood?
Yeah. before plant, it would be.
Is chlorophyll blood to a plant?
Yes.
Plant, but you not gonna see it as the same blood as a human being. That's my point. We're not gonna look at the universe and say, how come it's not red and flowing like liquid? You understand what I'm saying? So I can't say that chlorophyll is metaphorically blood. It is blood to a plant. The same way the flocculi is hair to the sun. You may not look at it as hair because it doesn't look like the same keratin and the same type of structure that is built to be. You understand what I'm saying? The same way how the horns of a ram is a bone. But we don't look at a horn as a bone. We look and we call it a horn. You understand what I'm saying? But it is a bone that's protruding out of the ram's head. It's an extension of the ram's head, which is the head is also a bone. So the bone is growing more bone that we see on the outside. So just because we call chlorophyll the blood of a plant does not mean that it's not blood or it's symbolic. It is the blood of a plant. The same way ether is the blood of suns. And the same way flocculi is the hair of the suns. So I'm just trying to help you understand that it's not belief that this is occurring. It's just that we're not viewing it that way. The same way I'm giving you the constellations and letting you know that the constellations basically react the same way as the human bodies react. And I'm giving the whole breakdown. I can't give you all of the breakdown tonight, but in later times I'm going to give you the whole breakdown of how they act exactly the same way how the human bodies act. And they also look the same way how the human bodies look. If you look at the calendar, you'll see they look the same way. Same way as well. Same thing with, like, for instance, the skeletal which is the Taurus. The main star there is called Aldebaran. Aldebaran is creating something called titanium oxide. What is titanium oxide? Titanium oxide helps to make bones stronger. Would a star be creating titanium oxide? Because it's strengthening the bones of the universe. We don't view it as the bones. But why would a star create titanium oxide as opposed to all the other stars that are not particularly creating titanium oxide? That's because titanium oxide is what's reflecting of that particular constellation. You understand what I'm saying? So we're not going to look at the stars the same way we look at the human body and say, hey, it's not creating this red liquid called blood. It's creating ether. Ether is blood. You understand what I'm saying? I hope I'm not confusing you, but I try to give you the correlation between a plant and also a human being. Chlorophyll is the same thing as blood to a plant, just like plasma is the same thing. And what they call blood, they call blood plasma. What does the sun produce? Plasma. It's the same thing. All right. You guys. Hello?
Yeah, Chief. I think Chief. We can't hear you, Chief.
Yeah, I hear you a little bit, but you sound like what is? How come it's like that though?
Okay, well, I don't mean to take you from the topic you were just on, but I know that you say that our words are like so okay, so basically with the what I was trying to say is with the calendar. Okay, I heard that part.
Okay.
Eskimo cold, motherfucker.
Go ahead and talk while it's still working.
Well, yeah, man. Yeah, no, it's very interesting. Okay, so I just want to know, just so are you saying that Caucasian invaders came in and created Zodiac stuff, and then you're just kind of
from what we already had there. So there's a thing called culture appropriation. Now the Caucasian, here we go with the trickiness with the words again, right? Appropriation means that they take from a culture and they may add in things. They may take things and replace it, and that's what culture appropriation is. But the correct term is culture misappropriation, because you're taking from a culture and you're replacing it. Now remember, the Caucasian didn't have a culture in Africa, so he had to basically adopt our culture and take it and misappropriate it. You understand what I'm saying? So even in Africa, there were pharaohs. There were white pharaohs. Like Ptolemy the First Soter was a pharaoh. He named himself a pharaoh when they took over that particular region in Africa. So culture misappropriation was taking place in Africa, where they took our symbols, right? They took our symbols, because remember, some philosophers, some Greek philosophers were taught right there in Egypt. They were taught all the mystery schools. They were taught many of the sciences that we already had in Africa. Like they could have just took it to Greece and just totally create a whole nother culture. They had to basically adopt our culture, learn our culture, and then misappropriate our culture to create their own culture. It's the same way religion takes from older stories in Africa and misappropriate it, and now you got Jesus, you have Heru, and all these people dating back thousands of years ago. Understand what I'm saying, Chief?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it gets tricky. But it's interesting to me though when we say that the Greeks came, that the Europeans and that the other people came into invaded Africa, right? You had to have some type of information to wage war to invade a superior race of people. You see what I'm saying? So we know that the indigenous people on this whole entire planet are black. That's in Greece also. That's in Europe. That's in all these other places. So you know what I'm saying? And we know the history of these people. They have murdered and eradicated the Aboriginal people of that landmass. That's in Ireland. That's in Scotland.
It wasn't just Caucasian.
That's in Germany. Huh?
It wasn't just Caucasian. We have to understand that all races did this against us. They all plotted against us. If you add up all the races on the planet, and they'll outnumber the African race, and that's what happened. It wasn't just the Caucasian that came in there with 3,000 or 10,000 people and just took over. Remember, before the Caucasian, the Hindu came in. The Hindu and the Indians came down in Africa and took over. It's actually happening today still. Nowhere into Africa. So it wasn't just the Caucasian that came into Africa and just took over, and it was just that. You understand what I'm saying? So it was other races of people that played a role in our downfall.
I just think that there's more going on in America than they're making it seem to be. Because we got all these great inventions that came out of America, all these great things, these great people that you have in America. And they invaded America is what they're using to take over the rest of the world, is the technology and the people that they stole when they came to this landmass. So that's what I'm trying to say, y'all. They are fooling us to believe all this other stuff when the truth of the matter is that we might be the originators of civilization, the originators of a lot of the things that we know that we are the originators of. So I think that they're going out of their way to take credit for this, or take things away from our ancestors, even to where they want to now say that it's aliens as opposed to our ancestors that built these pyramids.
Well, that's why I'm bringing this calendar back as well, and letting us know that this stuff comes from us. You understand what I'm saying? It wasn't no star people that came out stuff. You know, also understand that Africa also has civil wars taking place. You understand what I'm saying? Like even in the first dynasty, what did the first Pharaoh do? He united Upper and Lower Egypt. So we understood that there was civil wars going on in Africa as well. You understand? So the civil wars allowed us to weaken ourselves. What is happening in America today? Our main problem is what? Unity. We don't have unity amongst ourselves. So this has been taking place ever since the first dynasty or prior to the first dynasty in Africa. We've always been going through civil wars. And the Caucasian used that against us. The Indian race used that against us as well. So it was us against us. It was them against us. And basically our whole spiritual being to fall into this turmoil that we're facing today. So it wasn't just the Caucasian that came in and just took over the superior race. We allowed them to do that because of civil war, because of other races coming down there too. Eventually that's how we lost power. We lost power fighting amongst each other, even in Africa. Fought everywhere against each other. In Europe, we did the same thing too. You know, the Moors thought they were better than us in Africa, and that waged war against us too. So it was a lot going on. It wasn't just them just coming in, because we know that the Caucasian couldn't have just came in there with guns and just go blazing on us. It had to be tactful, meaning that it was other races and people that also helped them. That's why with the Moses story, you see that Moses defeated us in that particular region and defeated them as well, but let them back into Africa. You understand what I'm saying? That's where they get this whole Exodus story from. Back into Egypt. They came in there prior to even Alexander the Greek. Out again, weren't successful. They came back again, and that's when things started to fall apart. Then we have to also understand that it was their time and season. Everything has a time and season. Christmas time, they let us know it's their season. Things are dead. Christmas time, that's their most lucrative time of the year. You understand what I'm saying? It's Christmas time, when things are dying, things are dead. Ain't nothing alive. All the animals are hibernating. They love that time of the year. That's why they sing all these Christmas carols. Christmas is around again. It's the most jolliest time of the year. Why? Because everything is dead. You represent death. This is how they rule the world, with death and deception. The only way they can rule is death and deception. So, you know, it wasn't just them coming into Africa. It was also us. We played a big role in our own downfall as well, along with them and along with other races. Other races like to hide beneath the radar, but they're the ones also that caused us to fall.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, man.
I mean, do you understand where I'm coming from with it, Chief?
Yes, I do.
And there's also stories that back that up as well. You know, us having civil wars in Africa, even that's why the first what's that, King Narmar, I believe that was.
This is an ancient skill.
The upper and lower. So that means if you had to unite something, that means we had to be at war with each other. You know, so we had unification problems even in Egypt from the first dynasty. You know, that's just the way it was all the way until now, until we learn to unite with each other again. Truthfully, you got any questions as well?
Yeah, I mean, okay, let me get it. Because I had watched an interview you did with Elizabeth Perry, and you said that Pluto isn't a planet, and it never was. To the spell words and communion in the new year.
You said into the spell words?
Yeah, but my first question was Pluto isn't a real planet, right? And it never was. It's just
a figment of somebody's imagination. The reason being, scientifically now, we understand that Pluto, according to them, is a terrestrial planet, meaning that it's a solid planet, right? All terrestrial planets are closest to the sun, and the smallest one going further back. Remember, the planets go a little larger as you go further back into the solar system. So Mercury, being the smallest planet, is closest to the sun, and it's a terrestrial planet. Then you have Venus, the largest planet, being also closest to the sun. Now Earth and Mars are around the same size, but they're also closest to the closest to the sun, and they're terrestrial planets. The only way a planet can exist as far out as they are, where Saturn, Uranus, Jupiter, and Neptune are, is they have to be jovial planets. They have to be larger gas giants, which are significantly larger than our planet and also the terrestrial planets. So the terrestrial planets are closest to the sun because of the electromagnetic energy and spectrum. Also, if Pluto was to be further back past Neptune, that means that small planet would have to be closest to the sun because it's a terrestrial planet, and the electromagnetic spectrum or the electromagnetic energy or magnetism of the sun would not be able to sustain Pluto from being so far out. So this is why we know that Pluto is definitely not a planet.
Well, okay, so chart is going to bring us peace as far as like bringing our chakras in the tune and things like that. Is that what that is? Like, because the calendar world now isn't the right one, because even I know that the first year starts in March, but they have us working backwards and different, which is correct. Which is messing with us.
That is true. Now the chakra thing goes back to that's Hinduism. Basically, they follow that chakra system. You won't find anything about chakras in Africa at all. Now, this is what comes with cultural misappropriation again. Now, they understood that we knew what the body was about. You understand what I'm saying? We reflected everything and symbolically did everything according to the body. Now, the chakras also reflect the body, but they give you this whole pseudo thing about the head chakra, the throat chakra, this chakra. Now, the only thing that could create a force field would be the actual organ itself. So the heart would have to beat itself to create an energy or a field around it. Same way as the brain would have to give off electricity in order for it to show any type of energy or any force field. You go into any type of science and they'll tell you they can't locate a thing called chakra. You understand? And then when you go back into chakras, you'll see that the chakras lead back to organs. They'll tell you like the head chakra means the brain and the this and the that, and the throat chakra means, you understand what I'm saying? So the chakra system is a Hindu thing. You understand what I'm saying? That's another culture taken from African spirituality and creating their own thing again. You understand what I'm saying? So now, now, they are throwing us off because we can use this calendar as a unification process. The reason being is because each body part needs the other body part or needs every other body part to exist. Marrow, nothing would exist. Same thing with the skeletal system. No, the body can't exist without a skeletal system. It can't exist without the flesh. It can't exist without the lungs. So we go into this whole zodiac thing now, and it's like, oh, I'm a Aries, so I can't mess with a Capricorn, or I can't mess with a Scorpio, or I can't mess with a Libra or Virgo, whatever the case may be, because we're not compatible based upon the signs. But based upon this calendar, every single organ is compatible with with another organ, because each organ needs another organ to function properly for everything to exist. So if your bone marrow is out of whack, you can also expect each and every organ to be affected by the bone marrow not being at its top form. Same thing with the skeletal system. If your bones are weak, you start to get osteoporosis, and all these other things start to occur within the body. Same thing with the flesh. If your flesh is tainted, same thing happens. You could go to each one of these organs. Everything is affected by each other. So now the African race has to understand that each one of us reflects the activity of the whole race. So if one of us is sick, the whole race is sick. We got to work for each one of us to heal each other. So this is what this calendar does. It brings us together in unison and doesn't separate us based upon the zodiac, because the zodiac is a separation chart. This is basically letting us know that wherever you fall in line at, you have to work together in unison with all the other body parts in order for us to function, as a race effectively.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Now you say that the new year starts in the spring. Some people say April, some people say March, but let's just say the spring, right? So then you say it's going counterclockwise. So that means that we're going, because now we're talking about the seasons, so they go from spring to summer, summer to fall, fall to winter. But if you're saying that we're going counterclockwise, that means that we would be going from spring to winter. So can you break that down for us?
No, based upon temperature and the way things move, spring, even though they move their systems the way that they move it, meaning that they may push it counterclockwise with numbers starting clockwise. We basically go by temperature. So we know that from the winter it starts to get warm again, and as it gets warm again, as the temperature rises, then we go into summer season. And as summer season comes in, then we know that that's the peak of the heat. And as the peak of the heat, it drops down now into fall, and it also goes into winter. So we follow the construct of spring, summer, and that goes counterclockwise. Even though they may go clockwise and do the same sequence of spring, summer, fall, and winter, we use the counterclockwise sequence of going in the opposite direction, because that's the natural movement. So they may use that same sequence, but we know that sequence is a unnatural sequence. Even though, like I said, they still got to use the truth, but they have to distort it, because they're a race of people that distort things. They have to deviate away from the truth. They have to sprinkle some truth and then give you some falsehood in there as well. So the falsehood is that they're making the seasons go clockwise, but we know that they actually go counterclockwise.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. So basically what you're saying is you just changing, so you're still going from starting the spring and it goes to summer, but you're just putting the summer in the opposite direction. I got you. Okay.
Correct.
I got you. Makes sense.
We gotta do everything opposite of them. Everything we do, we gotta do opposite of them.
And you know what's crazy though? Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, and that's kind of my philosophy. Anything that they teach, if you guys would just say, you know what, let's just think the opposite of it and see what the outcome will be. You see what I'm saying?
And this is what this is. That calendar is a total opposition. Even the holidays. If you want, I know that Truthful wanted to get into just dropped out. But I know that Truthful, I know you wanted to to ask another question along with that question, and we'll go get into the holidays at the end, because I gotta get some rest soon.
Oh, okay, most definitely. Okay, okay, so basically, I do know that I do, and I think we all can feel that we've been taught things wrong. We've been taught things wrong from the beginning, so that we've been taught to walk, chew, and eat backwards, and we're trying to, you know, get it corrected now. So,
Eskimo cold, motherfucker.
okay, so the thing I wanted to know as far as about the religion and how they're, you were saying that kind of like how you said that the way they do communion in the church is like eating of the cracker, which is which is the flesh.
Yeah.
Like basically, kind of like cannibalism a little bit, right? Like how they're teaching. It's you said how they're. Can you explain that? Because I don't want to mess up any of your words.
Well, it is like cannibalism, and we gotta understand that they're cannibalistic people. Who taught us to kill a cow and kill the animal and just go, you know, eating the flesh just like that? Now I understand that in Africa we did actually, you know, cook animals, but there was a ceremony before we cooked animals. It was a special occasion to eat an animal in Africa. You had to basically adorn the animal. You had to make sure, because we understood that we're taking the life of a creature. You understand what I'm saying? And that creature deserved to live just as much as we deserve to live. With this savage beast, it's like, yo, he got slaughterhouses for animals. Toss them all in there. Let's kill them and eat. Same thing with Jesus. You know what I'm saying? You go into this church. You're symbolically eating the flesh of Christ, and you're drinking the blood of Christ. Now, this is a sick thing to do. Now, imagine if this was a real body up there. Let's just say that they had the body of Jesus Christ up there, right? Would you actually let them cut off a piece of this man and eat him, and then swallow his blood to quench your thirst and things like that? No, this is a sick people. I don't care if it's symbolic. You understand what I'm saying? Symbology is a reflection of what's taking place already, and we can see that we are actually eating the flesh of human beings as well. They do this type of stuff. You know, they just found out that McDonald's is using horse meat in their beef burgers,
and allegedly human meat as well. Allegedly.
What up? That's what I'm saying. These are sick people. Now, if you say, okay, we're eating human meat inside of these McDonald's burgers, now people will say, oh, that's nasty. Why are they putting human meat? Why are you putting the flesh of Christ in your body and drinking his blood and not saying that that's nasty? That's because religion got us under a spell, thinking that it's okay to eat the flesh of Christ and drink the blood of Christ. So this is a problem that we have in our community, and we got to get away from religion, because religion is tainting us very badly, especially Christianity. Christianity is a diabolical force against our people. So we got to give Christianity back, and we have to go by facts, understanding nature again. We got to understand nature. That's the only way we can get it done. And this is what I offer to the people as well, the nature of nature, along with this calendar. This calendar is the nature of nature. You know, it's following scientific research and things like that. You know, we may not view it as that right now, but later on, as we study it, we'll understand that, okay, now I see why it makes sense that this as above, so below thing is not just a phrase. It also reflects to, what's going on within our bodies and within the universe. But yeah, that whole eating the flesh and drinking the blood of Christ stuff, no good. We got to get out of that. It's not, even though I may laugh at it, but it's really not funny, because if we were really actually eating flesh and drinking people's blood, that's terrible. It's terrible. It's not the direction we want to go.
Wow.
So you guys,
yeah, man,
yeah,
that's pretty good. You got any more questions?
I mean, like, how do you begin to, start getting mental peace? Like, what's the so a person comes across you and they hear about the Nodiac, right? And they wanna start changing their life. So what do you start doing?
Well, I offer the information to them. I offer Noonoone science to them. And I let them down slowly at first because people hold religion so dear to them. A lot of people like one of the women that I deal with. I deal with 3 women right now. I'm actually in a polygynous relationship, and the last woman that with, she was actually a Christian, and she, some things had happened to her in her past, and she said that religion was the reason why she got out of it, and well, I'm gonna say what it is because she's also a motivational speaker as well, and she's gonna let people know as well, what she went through that she dealt with sexual molestation while she was young, she was very, very young, at the age of like 3 and coming all the way up, and she had a distorted view of what love was. And she was saying that when she looked to Christ and religion and things like that, it helped her get through that. And I said, that is a result of your power. And it wasn't a result of religion, because if it was a result of religion, then every person that dealt with sexual molestation would have got through it the way that you've got through it. But because you've got through it, and most people are still dealing with sexual molestation, that tells me that it was your mind and your determination that allowed you to get through it and allowed you to contact those people that sexually molested you, and you confronted them. That was your courage inside of you that allowed you to confront these people that sexually molested you. You understand what I'm saying? So as time went on, she started to see that power was within her and not outside of her, and praying to this mysterious God that was outside of her, and allowing herself to manifest into the person that she is. So to anybody out there that's dealing with religion, look within themselves first. And a lot of times they come and they tell us, well, God is within me. Well, you are the God that's within you, because I tell you this, everybody in religion has their own interpretation of religion and of God. Nobody has a set story means to them, which means to tell me that if it's your interpretation, that means that it's you, the one that's creating that God inside of you, which means that you're the God that's creating that, because gods are what? Are creators. You're the one that's creating these images. You're the one that's creating this reality for yourself. So anybody that's dealing with religion, I will let them know that they are the creators of their destinies. They are the ones that's allowing that to occur. And if you want to elevate that creative instinct, something of a scientific backing in order to help you get to that level. And I offer them Noonoone, because Noonoone is a science of facts, meaning that everything that's in the science is factual. Anything that you can research and you can the evidence to back that thing that you're researching. So anybody in religion can get out of religion and start following themselves and following their own mind and their own intelligence to get to the destination that they're looking for. You got me, Truthful?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Chief, you would like to ask?
Yeah, they have some tough questions. Anybody in the chat room got any questions? Yeah, I mean, man, this is definitely interesting. I'm gonna thank the brother, because at the end of the day, we gotta start taking back our stuff and creating something. So 100 years from now, people are gonna be looking at this calendar, and you know what I'm saying, and other things will be created off of your calendar. So I would definitely like to commend you for that, brother. That's definitely that's dope. I mean, you know what I mean. I just, you know, for me, you know, I'm more like, we in America. We have pyramids here. We have ancestors here, and I think that we're missing a lot of those that energy. And I think that was done by design to take us away from our ancestral land. And you know, I don't know if you want to kind of speak on that.
Repeat the question one more time for me. I'm sorry.
That I feel like they have taken, you know, with them teaching us about Egypt, West Africa, Africa, you know what I'm saying, whatever, in general, Sumeria and Asia and all those other places, but always taking us away from our pyramids here, our ancestors here, the bones here. You know, when we talk about bones, we talk about certain things. So I just want to know what was your take on that aspect of it, as opposed to, you know, talking about Africa and, you know what I'm saying, and start doing more research on America.
Well, my whole thing is to always go to the origin of things. Now you also bring up a great point, Chief, and that's pertaining to, you know, letting us know that there's a great deal of information right here in America. There's pyramids built right here in America. There's bones. There's all kind of archaeological evidence that suggests that Africans were right here on American soil for millions of years. I'm not just talking about thousands, millions of years before Christopher Columbus even quote unquote discovered America. Now, the word discover means that here before you had to uncover it, meaning that it was already here. You just pulled the cover off of it. You know what I'm saying? So when he came here, and he saw that there was Africans already living here. Now, we have to get back to stop allowing the Caucasian to be the one to be our primary source of information. And when we go to school and things like that, it's always the Caucasian being the primary source of information. We have so many African scholars that came before us, like Dr. Ben, Ivan Van Sertima, Afro Unu. There's a slew of African authors that has researched, dedicated their whole lives to giving us information. Myself, I dedicated to making sure that this calendar was constructed. You know what I'm saying? And that our primary source of information can't come from the Caucasian. Now, is that to say that the Caucasian can't bring forth some facts? Of course he can. Has certain technologies that can, you know, validate certain things. You know what I'm saying? But we can't use him as the primary source of information. We have to use our brains. We have to use our intelligence as the primary source of information. So that's the only thing that I would tell people in America, is to always primary source of information should come from the African. Now, if you can't find that primary source of information from the African, always go to the etymology of things. Always go to etymology. And the etymology will let you know the original and true meaning of something, whether it be the name of a star, whether it be the name of a particular place, whether it be the name. Now, it's just tricky, like Chief was saying prior to this, you know, like that's why Chief is like, hey, well, why would we use that word? Now we got to go to the scientific aspect of it. Like, even some of these stars were given names that I had to basically say, no, this is not the correct name of the star. It had to be the opposite of this name. So when I was even breaking down the etymology of the stars, some of the stars were switched around as far as being the opposite of it. You know, like even Aquarius being a ring bearer. Now, Aquarius is not is reflected as the intestines in the Nodiac. Now the intestines absorb the most water. The small intestines absorb the most water in the body. About 6 to 7 liters of water is absorbed by the small intestines. Now, does that mean now when you go to Aquarius now, what's it called? The water bearer, or they pouring out of the water. Now the intestines don't pour out water; they absorb water. You understand what I'm saying? So it's actually the opposite of what Aquarius is reflecting. So I had to do a lot of research, a lot of reasoning to help us understand that what was going on in the solar in the universes was taking place also inside of the body. So like Chief was saying, man, we just got to stay true to our blackness, and our primary source of blackness should not come from the Caucasian at all. Our primary source of blackness should come from black people, and that's why I offer the science Noon, because Noon is for black people, and it is not distorted by anybody, and it's pure. Comes from a black man. It's intelligent black men that ever graced this planet. So, you know, that's what I have to say about that. Just make sure that your primary source comes from black people and not come from the Caucasian.
And you talk about Afro-Uno, right?
Correct, Afro-Uno. Correct.
Afro-Uno. Yeah, you got to tell the people a little bit about Afro-Uno. Where you get this from, and I wish Tarnay was on here right now. Time to Tarnay.
Yeah,
talk about Johnny Brown.
Johnny Brown, Afro-Uno. I don't know much about him, you know, but I just know that he grew up just like all of us, you know, but he was more or less like somebody that was like a very avid researcher. You know, a very, very intelligent person from my understanding, faced with the knowledge of what we study today known as Noon. And it's just like a person getting like an epiphany. You know how sometimes you may be, you know, doing something and you're thinking, and then it's like an aha moment. So that's basically what happened with him. As you begin to research things, then you start to get aha moments, like, oh man, aha, this is what's taking place. And that's basically what happened with him. Is more or less like an intelligent type of epiphany that occurs in the brain, and he was able to understand what this type of energy was, and this type of energy allowed him to bring forth the science known as Noon. Like even the words like Nupu and Zupu, like people make fun of those words, but if you go into the IPA, which is the International Phonics Association, which is the IPA chart, you'll see that the frequency of the word Nupu and the word in itself creates more oxygen as you say the word Nupu. If you have to say the word, the N, the tongue goes to the top of the mouth, and you have to breathe in more oxygen in order to say the word Nupu. So you have to breathe in and say Nupu. And the same thing with Zupu. Zupu creates a jagged type of lazy movement in the mouth. So the word Zupu, you have to drop the tongue, and you have to create a rigid sound in order to get the word Zupu. You understand what I'm saying? So everything in the science is scientifically done, even the words. You understand what I'm saying? So everything that he did as far as the science is concerned was done through research. And for people that say he used the IPA, he did this before the IPA, because the IPA was updated in 2007, I believe. This word was since the 1960s. You understand what I'm saying? So this African man was letting us know, even in the Science Noon, he tells us that Pluto wasn't a planet. You understand what I'm saying? And he did this in 1993 when the book was published. This means that he had prior knowledge to it before publishing the book that Pluto wasn't a planet. And they found out Pluto wasn't a planet in 2003. So he knew this 10 years prior to them actually putting it out. So our primary source of information has to come from African people because we predate them. You understand what I'm saying? So anybody that want to get the books at gmail.com and just send me an email and I'll send you the books. If you want to order the calendar, you can go to noponoone.com, NOPONOONE.com, and you'll be able to order the calendar. You can also request the books at that email as well. So just got you guys, you know, I thank you for having me on here. You know what I'm saying? This is a powerful platform. You know, this has really, you know, brought out the intelligence out of my brain, especially Chief, man. Chief came with the haymaker questions.
You know how man, the haymakers, man. Because like I do know I'm nosy, so I be want to know questions, like, you know what I mean. But when you talk about the zodiac, though, like the main thing that people, when they think about the zodiac, are the signs. You know what I'm talking about? Aquarius, and you talk about you know what I mean. We talk about certain things or whatever. How does that work now that we are reversing it? Because you said something about Aquarius being a water bearer, and we know that comes from Greek, and that comes from Ganymede and Zeus and all that, you know, pedophilia stuff or whatever, right? So obviously we see that the zodiac is a Greek invention. So how does it work now that we're reversing it and you're bringing the truth to it? How does it? If I'm an Aquarius, how do I read my zodiac now, or Nodiac?
All right. So you don't necessarily read it as how the Greeks and how they basically viewed it. You now read it as what's your function, you know, that particular constellation is concerned. Like the intestines has many different functions, you know, and that does not mean that you're confined to that particular function. It just means that now you have to use whatever creative ability that you have, and you have to add it to the mix of what's going on for your race. Now, a lot of the personalities do link up with the particular zodiac and the Nodiac, but the personality does not reflect what the particular sign is. Like, for instance, they say that Aries people are like creators, or, you know, they start things. Now, if you look at the Nodiac, you will see that the bone marrow is the start of the zodiac. I myself I'm an Aries. I was born on March 22nd. So it would be incumbent that, you know, I kick things off with this Nodiac. You understand what I'm saying? So you know, just giving the blueprint, or blackprint rather, of how we can kick things off. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily that you know you got to find out the function of the small intestines and the large intestines, and you got to try to find a job. No, this is unity. We're dealing with unity. Whatever you bring to the table, let's work on that. Let's do whatever it is we can do to work on whatever you bring to the table. So if you got a sneaker company, right? Let's work on getting the sneaker company to the forefront. You know what I'm saying? Because we got to get Nike out of here. We got to get Reebok out of here. You know, I love what those kids and that man is doing with that Big Baller brand. You know, he's allowing his kids now to have a sneaker company for themselves. Look, branded by all these sneaker companies and sneaker contracts, and these sneaker people are making more money off these people than themselves. You should never have nobody else should make more money off of you than yourself. You know, it's crazy. Yeah, as far as the signs are concerned, right now we'll figure out all that stuff later on. We need to understand that each and every one of these signs need to understand that we have to work together, just like all these body parts have to work together in unison in order for our race to work. So whatever you have that's creative that you bring to the table, we need to work with each other and help manifest these different ideas and bring them to economic power in order for us to take back our state, because we generate $1.1 trillion a year. You know, we're the 9th richest or wealthiest people as a nation. If you want to call African Americans a nation, we're the 9th wealthiest in the world. You understand? There's over 200 countries. Why we can't be the 9th richest country on the planet? You understand? We generate 1.1 trillion. We should be able to create things in order for us to generate that wealth amongst each other. Also, this calendar, if you look at it, has its own holidays on it. Each holiday is a direct opposition to the holidays that we celebrate today. I'ma just go through maybe one or two. Like for instance, on that one I have Creative Inventors Day, which is April 7th. Creative Inventors Day is a direct opposition to Thanksgiving Day, because Thanksgiving is a day of stealing. They came here, they stole, and now they celebrate the day of stealing and killing and murdering and massacres. So Creative Inventors Day is a day of giving back. You know, we giving back to the world, giving back to different cultures and things of that nature. So Creative Inventors Day is one of those days that we understand is giving back and not stealing. We go to another holiday, like the one we celebrate New Year's Day. It won't be January 1st where everything is cold and dead. It'll be around the vernal equinox, whenever that day falls, whether it be March 20th, March 21st, whatever day it falls on, that'll be the new year. It should be able to fluctuate, because the new year is not going to be the same day every year. You know, we're going to have to understand that to fluctuate, it has to be living, it has to move. It's not dead and just stagnant. Our calendar has to move, it has to fluctuate. So is when things are new again, when the birds and the start to come out again, when animals start coming out of hibernation, the trees and the leaves and things start to grow again. So we have to understand this. Once we understand these different things, then we can move forward. All right, so that's gonna be my time, man. I'm tired.
That's what's up, man. We do definitely appreciate you coming through. Shout out to Noonoone. All the Noonoone out there, it's cracking. We got to definitely get that back and break that down for the family. What Noon Science is. Just talk a little bit more about Afro, things like that. Yeah, man, really appreciate it, man. Shout out to the chat room, all the great ones. I know they had a lot of great things to talk about in there. Very smart chat room. We really appreciate it, brother, you coming out tonight. Anything else? Anyway, everybody can catch up with you. Check out any videos that you have out there.
Yeah, you could go on YouTube. On Noonoon's channel, Noonoone Nupu, his channel. I have a YouTube channel as well. It's called A-Noot, Noonoone Nupu. That's my channel. 6 Dynasty, your channel as well. My videos I just did on Baba TV as well. I also want to give a very big shout out to a lot of people who helped this calendar come to fruition. One of the people is Poseidon. He also has a channel. His channel is African Creation Energy. He's the one that put together the graphics that you see on the calendar. He's basically like the computer tech guy. You know what I'm saying? You also got a lot of information and knowledge about Africa that helped me to put this together. So Poseidon deserves a lot of credit. I want to thank the sun, moon, and stars, all the contributions connections, that gave me the mental energy to put this together. I want to, thank our personal son as well for being able to give this planet the energy that it needs to move forward. The earth as well. The earth also needs reverence as well. On the calendar, I actually have 9 days on that calendar instead of 7 days out the week, because we understand the week is too weak. There go the trickiness of the words, week and week. The week is too weak. Earth needs reference, because every day of the week is given an orb. Like Sunday is the sun, Monday is the moon, Tuesday is Mars, Wednesday is Venus. No, Wednesday, I forgot which planet it is. I'm tired. But each weekday has a different orb that's given to it. But we see that Earth is not part of those weekdays. So I made it a little stronger, and we call it strong. And basically we have 9 days out the week, which are the 8 planets and the sun. Earth needs to be given reference as well, because we live on Earth and we need to protect Earth, and we need to help Earth move forward and get healthy again. So, I want to give reference to Earth. I want to give reference to my mother, my physical mother and father. Those are the gods that created me, allowed me to come to this planet to, do my job. I want to give a shout out to the 3 women in my life. Those women help motivate me to become as powerful, as I am, and helping me to really, help me get my male energy to the highest peak that it needs to be. And that's not sexually I'm talking about, that's mentally. Those women, definitely, help put me on my toes. Also want to give a shout out to you guys for having this beautiful platform. This platform is an amazing platform. It's gonna help to wake up, help us get to that next level. So that platform is a beautiful platform. I want to give a shout out to the Noonie Boos, Ta-Noon, Nubuhu, Nupu, myself. I want to give myself a shout out as well. I want to also give Ta-Noonette, who is Ta-Noon's wife. I want to also give a shout out to Kwipu Nupu, who is also a female Noonie Boo. She's working hard as well. The culture going. And any other Noonie Boos that's out there as well that's promoting Noon. If I forgot anybody, I apologize. Thank you to all the platforms. Side Meta, who I went on first. Six Dynasty, Baba TV, Truthful platform. What's the name of you guys' platform? I forgot the name of the platform. What's the name of the platform?
It's Truthfully Honest.
Truthfully Honest, yes. Truthfully Honest. I want to thank you guys and your platform. If I forgot anybody, I'm so. I forgot to thank Nupu and Noon, my parent powers. My parent powers are Nupu and Noon. Nupu and Noon is what helped give me the mental energies to basically create the calendar, and to help me raise the mental awareness of our people. So definitely want to give a shout out to Nupu and Noon, and even the negative side of the nature, which is Zupu, that is that negative and positive creates light. So even the negative side of nature deserves some type of credit as well, for helping us to see, things for what they are. So with that being said, thank you for having me on the platform. Any last words for me? Oh, on Instagram at Flawless1, that's FLAWSLESS, the number 1 ONE. So that's Flawless, the number 1 and ONE. You can find me on Facebook with A-Noot and Noonoone Nupu. Find me on Facebook there as well. Alright, so I think I've covered everything. Any parting words you guys have for me?
Can you type in the chat so that I can can you type in the chat so I can put it in the description box? type anything at all in the chat, and I'll be able to catch your channel faster.
From generation to generation.
Watching the chat. Hold on, wait. So how do I get to the chat?
Go to my channel. Go to my channel, Truthfully Honest, and go to the live stream.
All right, here we go. Stream.
We had a powerful build tonight. Peace to the sister, Truthfully Honest. Peace to Noonoone. Peace to A-Noot for coming through tonight. Peace to all the great ones in the chat room.